Manga.
I used to work for a small company with about 10 employees, but it was now what we call a black company, and overtime was the norm every day. And there was no overtime pay. Lunch breaks were only a few minutes long, and the number of days off was so different from the job description that it was terrible. There was an allowance also known as bonus, but some employees did not receive a single bill. We would only get one day off the week if we're lucky, and there was no summer or New Year's holidays, and no consecutive holidays either. And above all, the boss was the worst. It was a small company, so the boss worked with us, and he would often yell at us and complain about small mistakes for several days. He would force his employees to work overtime while he would go out and have fun himself. He was the kind of guy who would brag about what he did and wouldn't admit his own faults. Because of this guy, I had to do more and more things every day, and my work hours were increasing. In addition to that, it was a physically demanding job, so I was falling apart physically and mentally. I worked to the limit, got home tired, got some sleep, and went back to work, wondering how much longer I could go on like this. I met my husband at that company. My husband was the same age as me, but he was my senior who joined the company a year ahead of me. Around the time I started working there, the previous chief quit, and my husband became the chief by seniority. Being a chief didn't mean you get a better pay, but just more work. With the position came a lot of responsibility. As expected, my husband who became the chief became the target of the boss's bullying. He made him do something he wasn't taught before, and when he asks,
"Don't you even know that?"
and gets angry, he yells at him every day for the smallest mistake. Then, in front of the contractor,
"This guy's an idiot. Don't you think so too?"
I wasn't allowed to have my husband's back in front of all the employees to my boss.
"This guy is no good. I can fire him. But do the carry. I'm nice, aren't I?"
By the way, carrying was an even more strenuous job than the one he was doing at that time. My husband is a resilient man, but even he was exhausted every day because of the workload. When my husband started the carrying, the chief position became vacant. Normally, it would be nice to move up the ranks, but in this company, there are no advantages, so no one raised their hand. So the boss decided, as usual by seniority. After my husband left his chief position, I became the next chief. As I had expected, the number of things I had to do was gradually increasing, and I couldn't keep up with it. I was the boss's next target, who blamed me for the things like poor sales and even for the customer disputes. I was tired of my boss's behavior, humiliating me for every second, every small mistake, blaming me for everything.
"What? You got something you want to say? Say it. Come on. Come on. I can't hear. Come on." That's why you're an idiot.
He scoffed at me. I can say anything when he scoffed at me like that, because he was the boss and a man at that. Apparently, it's been a really long time since a woman became a chief, and after that, I was made fun of by the boss all the time. It was so hard that I wondered how my husband was working through this. But I did my best. But the harder I worked, the more things I was in charge of. I started doing everything, so the boss got carried away and started adding more and more work. But there's a limit to the amount of work one person can take on. Of course, I tried to do as much as I could, but there were times when it was beyond my capacity. As if in anticipation, the boss came and yelled, and then tormented me. Naturally, my husband, who wasn't amused that I was being harassed, was angry. Then we talked together, and my husband and I decided to take revenge. The next day, we started planning our revenge together, and on the day of executing it, The revenge that my husband and I did was quitting the company. We could have sued the company for harassment, but they were a company, and there was a possibility that we wouldn't win with a good lawyer. So we thought of a quicker revenge plan. I'll never forget the look on the president's face when we told him we were both quitting. He didn't even know we were dating. We are getting married.
And in doing so, we are quitting. Because it's tough with the salary here.
We both said.
Huh?
From the boss's point of view, it didn't matter to him that we were gone. He must have thought that if he brought in the new employees and trained them, nothing would interfere with business operations. The boss snickers and...
Go ahead. I guess I'll just be the one to be happy when you two are gone.
And we were able to leave the company smoothly. However, the boss's naive way of thinking was soon overturned. First of all, the physical work that my husband was doing was very tough, and nobody could do it, much less of a female employee. The people who has been doing this for a really long time, and even those who tried, stopped as soon as they felt physical pain. Thanks to this, there was no one left to take charge of the job, and the boss got impatient and did it himself, but the job was so hard that he stopped after one day. The work was not getting done because of that, and the contractors complained. And to the work I was doing, the boss said he could have someone else do it. But it was something other employees could learn quickly, and surely not something a rookie can do. And the boss can't even teach the new employees because of his personality. The only thing he can do is yell at them, and apparently the remaining employees were splitting the work up because it was something they could do. They also have to take care of the newcomers, so they don't have enough manpower at all, and the boss can't mentor the newcomers after all. Furthermore, the work my husband was doing wasn't progressing at all, delaying the deliveries and causing a vicious circle where employees were lost since they had to respond to complaints from the vendors. This caused even more overtime work than before, less sales, and a smaller bonus, which was already a drop in the bucket. The company was now heavily in debt. The word from the vendors were terrible. They're not getting any more work, and the company seems to be in dire straits in no time. By the way, this is what the remaining employee told me, and that employee also quit a short time afterwards. The employees who had lost patience sued the company for power harassment as if they were adding on to the blow. Following in their steps, more and more employees filed suit against the boss. If the employees unite and file a class action lawsuit, that company wouldn't stand a chance after everything they've done. And shortly after my husband and I left the company, we heard that our former workplace went under. Of course, the president of the company will now spend the rest of his life with a lot of debt, and the industry will have blacklisted him, so he won't be able to come back. They got what they deserved. By the way, my husband and I started working again, albeit for different companies. This company rarely has overtime work, and even if we do, we get paid properly. That's the standard in society. But we were so happy that we hugged each other. And although we take turns taking days off, we're able to take it, and we can take the summer holidays and New Year's vacations if we want to. We were able to take time off to accommodate each other's schedules. After that, my husband and I sued the boss. I was so worried that it would be difficult to win against him in court because there was no evidence of power harassment or his awful words. But we were able to use the overtime work and days off as proof and decided to sue. After that, we were both able to receive the full payments for unpaid salary. We had a rough time with that boss, but I'll never forget the last look on his face when he lost everything.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. What did you think of today's episode? Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on today's story. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe!